What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Busy Dad's Board Gaming. My name is Neil Odette, and today we're going to be peeling back the plastic and doing an unboxing of Paladins of the West Kingdoms from the West Kingdom series. So let's dive right into it. All right, so here we have the front of the box. Paladins of the West Kingdom, follow-up to Architects of the West Kingdom, designed by Shem Phillips and S.J. McDonald, published by Renegade Studios. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. Over this past year, 2020, we've played a lot of Architects of the West Kingdom, probably one of our most favorite worker placement games that we've played this year. So let's flip this on over and take a look on the back. Paladins of the West Kingdom is set at a turbulent time of West Francia's story, circa 900 AD. Despite recent efforts to develop the city, outlying townships are still under threat from outsiders. Saracens scout the borders, while Vikings plunder wealth and livestock. Even the Byzantines from the east have shown their darker side. As noble men and women, players must gather workers from the city to defend against enemies, build fortifications, and spread faith throughout the land. Fortunately, you are not alone. In his great wisdom, the king has sent his finest knights to help aid in our efforts. So ready the horses and sharpen the swords. The paladins are approaching. So on the back of the box, we have some art here. That's likely one of the paladins you can play as, or perhaps one of the individuals you play against in solo mode. This is components breakdown and then some artwork of what it likely looks like when it is completely set up. It's a game for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 plus, and plays in around 90 to 120 minutes. So let's dive right into it. So opening up the top of the box, we are first met with what you can expect from Shem Phillips, at least what I've come to know are some pretty hefty rule books, so 36 pages, if you can see that there. Pretty big, however, there does tend to be quite a few examples through the rule books. I know with Architects of the West Kingdom, almost every page was an explanation of one specific location on the board, so I venture that we'll find the same thing in here. But we have the intro, the aim of the game, components over these 2 pages, and then we get into setup. So on page 5 we've got 7 full steps of setup, and then an additional 7 steps between pages 6 and 7. So pretty big setup, but I think I don't think it would be anything too laborious to get to the table. And then we go into gameplay overview. So it takes place over a series of 7 rounds. Now we're going into round structure over these 2 pages here. Carrying on here with up to 7, it appears, 7 steps to a round. And then, of course, as you can see here, the example. So there tends to be a lot of examples throughout the rulebook, which is great, and a lot of these blue side notes, so important rules or things of that nature that are maybe commonly forgotten throughout the game. But then we get into the introduction of taking actions, starting with player board actions. So there's going to be player board actions, and then I believe some stuff on the main board. So the first player board action of develop, which takes up a whole page, and then recruit, which will take up a whole page. And then here we have hunt and trade, prey and conspire, commission, fortify. Again, you see the examples all throughout. They do a really good job in explaining exactly what it is they're talking about within the rules. We get into garrison, absolve, attack, and convert. And this is still within the player board. tax and suspicion. So we're talking about tax and suspicion. Debts and inquisition. So debts are something that's making a return, at least as far as I'm aware, from Architects of the West Kingdom. I don't know if they were in the previous games. And then talking about passing, that you can pass on your turn. And then we get into the end of game scoring, with whoever has the most victory points is, of course, the winning player. Have a scoring example over here. And solo rules. So I played solo quite a few times with Architects of the West Kingdom, so I'm very intrigued and interested in diving into the solo rules of this one as well. And I know this probably looks daunting, a full 36 pages or so of rules between the competitive play as well as the solo play, but I assure you it's really not that bad. Once you become familiar with the different actions on the boards that you can take, it tends to go quite smoothly. I remember, again, talking about Architects, a similar rule book, pretty hefty. It seemed like it was going to be a very difficult thing to teach, but you kind of take the quick moment to go over each of the locations and what they do, and just a general guideline of how to win. I wouldn't go full deep within the first game, because it's hard to explain everything in a game like this to a person for your first game. I just, take it as it goes. Try to have fun with your first couple of games and then dive into the full competitive play. But that's a rule book. All right, so I apologize about that. I've already unboxed everything. However, the video was corrupted, so I'm just kind of going through it again. So bear with me as we go through this once more. So first off, we'll go through some of the components, the wooden ones at least, that you'll find in terms of workers. So the purple ones, and they're all different, with the purple being able to be used as any color. So in this game, you use your workers, but they have to be specific colors unless the space is translucent. Then you can use any color. However, if, say, one of the spaces was green, you could use a criminal as a green, or you could use a criminal as a red, or what have you. So purple is criminal. We have the red ones are your fighters. White ones are your laborers, and these are all pretty standard quality wooden pieces. Green are your scouts. We have some blue ones, which are your merchants. Black ones that look like the rest of these are clerics. And then you have additional black ones that are kind of like a bust. I'll just kind of take it out so you can see here. These specifically are monks. And then we have green workshops and red outposts. Lastly, we have 28 jars that will go on your player board that will help you score points, and attribute markers. So red, 4 of each, 1 for each player essentially if you're playing a 4-player game. Red, blue, and black, and those for attributes. All right, next we'll take a look at this deck here. These are the townsfolk, and what you're seeing is the name, obviously, so Abbot in this case. In the upper right corner, if you're to dismiss them or send them away, these are immediate benefits that you would gain. However, if you were to take them on into your town or what have you, you would either get resources immediately based off the lightning bolt symbol that you'll see here, and then long-lasting effects that will last for the entire game. So in this case, every time you gained a monk, you would also gain a laborer. So we have the Abbot, Acolyte. Some of these are familiar to me just from playing Architects. Speaking of which, we have the architect, conspirator, debt collector, defender, gatekeeper, missionary, peddler, squire, and watchman, and abbot again at the bottom. So all of those will provide you different resources if you were to send them away, as well as long-lasting benefits if you were to take them on. Here we have your paladins. So these are paladins that you'll be using one per turn, essentially, to gain one, the attribute, the additional attributes, and two, additional workers. So you have the workers that are gained, the attributes that are used, and then their name and additional benefits at the bottom. So, for instance, if I was to pray with Oliver, it would cost me no silver. Or if I was to trade with Otten, I gain 2 additional silver when trading. So those are the paladins. There are 48. You'll be using those throughout the game. Here we have the outsider cards, and they work similar to the townsfolk in the sense that if you were to attack these, you gain the benefit here. However, if you were to absolve them or take them on, you gain the bottom benefit either immediately, again with the lightning bolt symbol, or the long lasting. So in this case, you'd get a victory point plus a victory point per every king's order that you've completed. So quite a few outsider cards, 36 total for outsiders, and they're shown by having the black or gray bottom. And then we have some additional paladins. So no different between these ones and the previous ones I had just shown you. So they're paladins as well as outsiders. Next, if you've played Architects of the West Kingdom, you'd be familiar with debts. So debts have returned in Paladins of the West Kingdom, and they work exactly the same. You can take a debt at times instead of paying a cost, and then you can, of course, pay off that debt, which you'd turn it to the flip side, and you would gain a victory point at the end for having an unpaid debt. However, if you don't pay it, you lose victory points. Then here we have the red seals are the king's orders, 6 of those, and 10 green seals, which are king's favors. So these are things, this is how the rounds are tracked. There'll be 7 of these, and you'd go through each of them doing king's orders and king's favors to gain additional benefits. These blue ones here, 17 of them, these are scheme cards. So this is for solo play. We have tavern cards, which will depict 4 different workers. So laborers and merchants in this case. And then suspicion cards. So if you take on, I believe, criminals, so you conspire and get criminals, you gain suspicion cards that will give you benefits, either good or bad, I believe. So in some cases, they do absolutely nothing, excuse me. And finally, we have wall cards, 24 of these. So you can take a fortify action, I believe is what it's called, and this will provide you with, once again, additional resources. So increased strength plus 3 laborers, increased strength plus a laborer and a scout, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you get the point. These ones back here give victory points as well. So those are all the cards. And then we get into the main board. So the main board comes in two pieces. You're not going to be able to see these together. However, I will lay them out here. So this is the left side of the main board, and this is the right side of the main board. So they would connect in one line and go across there. So in total, probably about 2.5 feet in length. And that's pretty much it right there. So these are where your favors go and your orders, and that will go through the rounds. So 1 to 7 rounds. Some actions that can be done here, and so on. Okay, then we get into some tokens. We have 50 silver and 40 provisions, plus a start player token. And then lastly, we have 4, I'll just put the other 3 to the side because they're all the same, 4 player boards. So there are 2 sides to the player board. You have one is the actual player side, and one that is named the AI side. How that works, I'm not entirely sure yet, but in the future I will probably be doing a full review and how to play of this game, so stay tuned to the channel. But yeah, that's it. That is everything that comes in the box. Quite hefty. First thing I noticed right off the bat, after having taken all of this out and putting it back in, there is no insert, which is unfortunate. And I've kind of gotten used to, say, like Stonemaier games, where they also give you a ton of little baggies to put all of your cards in and stuff like that. That is not the case with this, so you kind of have to just shove it in wherever you can, which I'm going to have to figure out a solution for, because I stand my games up, and as soon as I do that, obviously you can see that these cards are just going to fly everywhere. So that is it. That is everything in the box, as I mentioned. If you're interested, stay tuned to the channel, as I will be posting some additional content on this. And as always, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Links in the description below. Feel free to smash that subscribe button and like the video, as it goes a long way in helping the channel grow, and share this with a buddy or two. But as always, that's everything that's in the box. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.